For example, if you're filing for an income tax, no contact. If you're auditing somebody, no contact. Or if you're trying to file for get a license, no contact. Why? Because contact is the source of corruption. Di ba? Parang
Yes,
hindi
ma'am.
pa na-gets yata ng government. I think hindi pa nila na-address yung side na yon, which for me is a very big leap into transparency and accountability. And maybe it's because the people inside also don't want di ba, in the different departments, di ba, maybe some don't want that kind of because with the technology nowadays, I think that should be one of the issues that we should address, di ba?
Okay.
Because that will definitely help bring us to the next step, di ba?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so now it will be Kate's turn to ask you questions.
Wait lang. Iba lang angle.
Go lang.
Okay, go lang. Okay, sorry. Okay, so, ma'am, what are your views or your insights on the RH bill? I mean, are you pro or are you anti? What's your stand?
I believe that with all the people who have come to me in the past, I think they need an education. How to do it, I don't know. If it's through because for me, it's the education part for me that's critical. We need to educate our people.
So, what do you think about the FOI bill?
I think we need it, and I understand also the concerns of the president why he hasn't been pushing it. But maybe a limitation to the FOI bill, like putting a cap or a ceiling to what can be or what cannot be, is I think important. Although he says anybody can ask, yes, anybody can ask. True, di ba? Kaya lang ang hirap naman kumuha ng information.
Yes.
No? I mean, like, for example, salen na lang, di ba? Even sila nahirapan sila to get the salen. So, yeah, it's supposed to be available, but it's not posted on the web. Di ba?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what do you consider to be the number one issue affecting our community?
Number one issue.
Number one issue affecting our
Society.
society.
I think it's the lack of order. Yeah.
Okay.
Kasi the lack, if everything is, if your priority is order, then there will be peace. When there is peace, diba kasi when there's order, people will not fight. Yeah?
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So there's peace. When there's peace, there's progress. Now, we have a lot of conflicts now. We're busy, like the president is busy fighting fires. Diba? Not only him, even chief of police. Diba? Busy fighting fires. Why? Because we did not put priority in order. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Diba? If everybody said, you have to follow this, and if we said that there's no ifs or buts, just follow this is the rule, then we will have order. The problem nowadays is people's perception is everything is negotiable. Diba? So it's the petty corruption. And when people say that, ay mabait si mayor, oo, baka corrupt. Diba? Why? Because if you follow the rules, then hindi mabait si mayor. Do you get me?
Yes, ma'am.
Because he is strict. But that is, what you need to follow. So we have a conflict in our society, I feel, no? Na yung perception natin ng mabait and yung perception natin ng what is right and what is order. Yeah?
In Marikina setting naman po, when you were a mayor, what were the biggest challenges or yun nga po, like the number one issue that you had to deal with being a mayor in Marikina?
Well, I would say that maybe the most challenging was Ondoy, di ba? That situation. Pero when you say that what is challenging overall in your work is, educating people. Di ba? Because if people are educated on what is the role, what is the function of everybody, di ba? Then, I think you can all move in the same direction, easily, without conflict, and with progress. Di ba? Kaya lang right now, when you start giving in to pinakiusap, so people will say, oh, bakit pa ako susunod? Pwede naman palang ipakiusap. If you tell your enforcer na, yung tricycle driver nakiusap sa akin, pakawalan mo siya, bakit pa siya magpuhuli? Why will he do his work? So, doing his work is part of order. Yeah? Doing one's role, without compromise is anti-corruption. Diba? Kasi what is corruption, diba? It's deviating from what is right. I don't believe that corruption is just giving money. I believe that, corruption is deviating from what is the rule. Diba? Because you are corrupting the system. Yeah? Is that clear? Is that a clearer concept
Yes,
for me?
It is
Diba?
actually
Yeah.
a new perspective on
Yeah.
corruption.
Okay, so,
So
for,
when people say the government is corrupt or
It doesn't always
politicians are corrupt, you have to first check whether the person also is corrupt. Di ba? In the sense na he asked you to deviate from the rule. Di ba? Deviate.
Yeah.
Di ba? So I think that's something that we need to educate people about. Di ba? So if you don't want corruption, you follow the rule. Di ba?
okay, so what would you consider to be your most notable achievements as a politician during your term?
My notable achievement. Well, I think, Marikina had become known for its good governance policies, diba? And the best practices that we try to innovate and introduce in our governance, So we have maybe 10 Galing Pook Awards. That means those programs that we did which excelled, no? Like for example, siguro sa Marikina lang, it was possible to do a warehouse that's computerized. And I'm very proud of that because I can say that the people did not corrupt the system. Because it's so easy to steal materials. It's so easy not to account for these things because who will look at it, diba? But our people, during my term, preserved the materials, used it very wisely, properly dispensed of the materials that we had. And, that's also already like a refinement of our practice.
Okay, so do you have any ongoing projects or programs right now? Or what are you working on right now?
Well, I'm working on the private sector already. So as far as governance is concerned, I'm just helping out with the Institute for Solidarity in Asia as a board member to help other local governments learn and to teach other people how we did it and to share my best practices, what I did, and to, I guess, in the private sector naman, to also serve as a model, di ba? Well, I don't believe that you need to be in government to do good for our country. That's the thing, di ba? You can serve our country very well also in the private sector.
So for miscellaneous questions, just to lighten the mood, why did you choose pink as your campaign color?
I think because Bayani started the pink color in Marikina when he said, we want Marikina in the pink of health. Marikina is a healthy city. And the Healthy City program of the World Health Organization actually is a program not only for physical health, it talks about environmental health and in saying that the health of a community and the health of a person is interrelated because if you have a good environment, then people will become healthier or more productive. Diba? I mean, why do you want health? Because you want your people to be productive. Diba? Why is government concerned about health? Because the health of the community is directly related to the output of the society. Diba? So if your community is a healthy city, by way of fixing the roads, para hindi siya lubak-lubak, para hindi siya stressed. Walang traffic, para walang stress. You more productive because you spend less time on the road. You have a sidewalk para walang nasasagasaan, di ba? You have a clean market para walang nagkakasakit sa pagkain. We have a clean food laboratory that tests the water and the food, so you know you don't have indigestion problems. You don't have food poisoning problems. You have a market that's clean, that yung mga tao tinitimbang yung pagkain para alam nila yung 1 kilo talaga. So these kinds of programs all, I think, contribute to the overall wellness of people. Di ba? And we're seeing a holistic development of the people. And so Marikina was a healthy city, so we say we're in the pink of health. Di ba?
Okay. So, how is it living with the MMDA chairman?
Tough. He's an exacting boss. Di ba? He's a very easy husband, but an exacting boss. As a husband, he's not demanding. He only eats sinigang, so you don't have to be an expert in French cooking or ano. He's also a very generous husband. In other words, hindi naman siya in terms of, letting you do what you feel you need to do and you want to do. But as a boss, or in terms of standards, he sets the record high. Like when I was mayor, he's always saying, ang dumi ng Marikina, ay, madumi na natin ito, ay, magkalat, ay, di ba, makulit, di ba? So, you always have to, raise the bar, and he's always like, why don't you rip-rap this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you? So, okay, di ba? So, he's number one kibitzer, you might say. So even if the people are not complaining, he said, why don't you do it even before they ask for it? Yung ganun siya, di ba? So his idea of public service is very high, his standard, because he feels na Filipinos should be no different from the Americans. So if you go to America and you see it that way, you should also have it in your city. Ganun din, di ba? So, dapat pag punta ka sa Marikina, parang sabihin, nasa San Francisco ako. Sana. Diba? Which is what? No basura, no kalat, no malinis, maayos, walang lubak. Diba? All of that. Walang magnanakaw. Diba? If you could do that all.
Okay, so are you planning to run again?
No.
Okay, so what's in store for you in the future?
For my future, I just hope that it's only now that I have time to spend with my daughter and my family. When I say family, my parents, my siblings, di ba? Before, I have no time. Di ba? No time for friends, no time for anything. It's all work. If it's not work, it's patay. Di ba? That's also work. Di ba? You go to all the patay, to all the binyag, to all the kasal, So if it's not trying to get things done in the city, it was socializing. So sometimes the politicians, they spend more time the socializing part. But for us, ni Bayani, hindi pwede eh. Kasi parang we didn't go into government to socialize. That's something we share in common, diba? So we'd rather get the job done. But of course, socializing is part of your function. You're always invited, and people expect you to come, diba? So we spend a lot of time there. So there's really no time for anything, diba? Not even to go to the parlor. I told my secretary, you have to schedule, look at my hair, it's so pangit already. You have to put it in my schedule, parlor. Diba?
Okay, so last question. Do you happen to know Sir Benjamin Barreto?
Yes. Yes, of course.
And how do you know him?
Because Benji, I think I met him first because he was in an official of the Ateneo housing. Diba? And then, of course, I met him in Ateneo, in our programs for, good governance, our programs for, because Ateneo also has this program, Leaders for Health, diba? And so many times he's speaker, he's, for different, I've seen him in many different roles, diba? So he's your professor for this?
Yes.
Okay. So he's the president, is he an officer pa of the Ateneo housing in
He is.
Nangka? I
Ah,
think
yeah.
so.
He is,
Yeah.
he is.
Ateneo
Okay.
Bill.
Mm-mm.
So, yun lang.
So,
Would you like to add anything? Or okay na?
wala na naman.
Ha?
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, thank you.
So you're done?